Welcome to Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. I am your host, as always, Andy, joined by my co-host, as always, Dale. How we doing, bud?
Hey, Andy. Welcome to March, my friend. Although technically we did release something for March, but we kind of wanted to flip the script and do something a little bit new. So last week was WCW. This week, we're going back to the year of 1999. And we're going to go where? A little extreme. To Asbury Park, New Jersey. Andy, have you ever been to New Jersey before?
No, not yet. Unfortunately, not. That's somewhere that I really want to go to.
Didn't it look wonderful when they opened up the package here on the Jersey Shore at the Asbury Park Convention Center, where Taz did a nice promo to fire us up about his debut with Sabu, where he talked about breaking Sabu's jaw and said it maybe 19 times because he was still trying to figure out how to cut promos at that point.
Yeah, as I say, it was all right promo, it wasn't bad. One thing I did put in me is the book, as always. First thing I put is, I kept expecting to see Snooki pop out the water behind Taz.
She actually, okay, so it was low tide at the time, so you weren't able to see it. But if they continued to shoot, she would have actually came out like Flipper.
Well, yeah, no, do you know what? WC, one thing I've put here, and this is something that's throughout, is like the production's not up to scratch, is it really? Do you know what I mean? I know it's got this cult following and stuff, but people always go on that it could have done this, it could have done that, but the production values just wasn't there, was it?
You know, you're absolutely right, but it doesn't mean that the product itself wasn't fantastic. And I kind of undersold that. And I kind of like undersold that and threw it under the bus just from the get-go because it sounded pretty nicely to us. However, I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Okay? Oh, I loved it.
Look, they started off and it was a very cold open to go into an interview, but that's how ECW was.
Yeah.
Paul E. Dangerously always said, accentuate the positives. We might not have the budget, and I'll definitely bounce your check, but I'll make sure that the people understand and get what they want here. So we have Living Dangerously 1999. We have some storylines continuing. We have some stuff going on in between, and the ECW like to just throw in random matches whenever they could, or just a referee would just be like, all right, I guess I'll go to the ring. Yeah. But let me tell you something. When the first match came up, were you just like, oh, nostalgia?
Do you know what? I was made up, but the one thing I do want to discuss first is what I didn't like, and I think was a bit stupid, was Joey in the middle of the ring at the start.
You don't like the introduction?
No, I didn't like it. Just didn't like it. I didn't think it was necessary, and I don't really think he said much.
Well, okay. So you've gone to live events before, right? And you understand, like, can't you remember like Tony Chimmel coming out and telling you the card before anything was on?
Yeah.
And then saying, queuing up, all right, I need you guys to get excited, 3, 2, 1. The curtain was pulled back for ECW to do that.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to bait and switch their crowd. They never did. I mean, if they did, please, somebody let me know. But that was Joey Styles. They wanted a bare bones execution of perfection. And if you're going to do something like that, I know you might not agree with it, but do you know of anybody else better than Joey Styles to do that?
No, not really, to be honest. I'll be honest with you. I like Joey Styles maybe doing that. I didn't like Joey Styles on commentating. I'll admit that. I didn't like his streaky voice, and I thought it was a bit annoying, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. All that crap. But if I'll be honest with you, I don't think in ECW you could have plugged anybody else in that could have done it as well as him. I felt like he was great on ECW. Never liked him on WWE. Just didn't think he fitted in with their style.
Because he didn't like WWE.
No.
And he didn't like their style. That's why he said, and it was famous when he said, I call professional wrestling. I don't call sports entertainment.
Yeah. Well, the first match was a belter, wasn't it? Absolute cracker of a match. It was super crazy and Tajiri. It was just.
And this was, I mean, when you see shaven Tajiri, you're like, ooh, this is a throwback. Yeah. A clean-faced Tajiri. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything's 5 stars with them. However, they could do that if they wanted to. They have a
Yeah.
time, they have their strengths, not too many weaknesses. If anything, I think, you know what their weaknesses and I've watched a lot of their shit over the past few years. Okay, I'll limit the cursing, but I remember there would always be a spot where they just like had to stop for a second because they were just getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
And you see that now more than ever, but I think it's because they're just missing a spot. It's not like Ray Phoenix bumping into Nick Jackson and messing up. It's like, you know, like they just end up having to stop and then kind of reposition themselves. They don't continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, know exactly what you mean. I mean, with these two, it's for the one thing I liked with them is some of the train wrestling that they were doing, you know, where they were kind of slam into a bridge, into a kick up flip and all this stuff. And then when they stopped and looked at each other and the crowd, you know, I felt like them little breaks are just really something that, you know, probably AEW's more of a problem with this, where they don't give the crowd a chance to appreciate what you're doing. Bam, 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 bam. There's no break, you know what I mean? Where here, like, you could see the guys, they were really good, and they had to give the crowd, even if it was just a 5-second little break, but it was enough just to let them out on it and kind of, you know, get ready for the next section of it.
It was more authentic and it was more natural.
Yeah.
You know, then, you know, we're going to do, like, I think they go to the back in AEW and they'll say, all right, this is our break spot. Crowd's going to come up. Then we can move around.
Yeah. That's it.
Like, you know, but like you said, the bridge spots where they're popping up. And the only thing I'm thinking of at this point is the neck strength must be insane for what they do.
Did you see the bit where Tajiri's in a bridge and Super Crazy comes up and double knees him and Tajiri doesn't move? He stays in the bridge.
And he stays on his neck.
Yeah, and he stays in the bridge. And I was like, whoa. So what I mean? Either one, Super Crazy's managed to perfect landing lightly on him, or two, Tajiri's just solid.
And we're going to point this out too. If you guys ever like end up watching this for the first time or whatever, we're not talking about guys that are super muscular. And I'm talking about guys that own their craft. And that's quite frankly, just one of the more impressive feats here, because these are people that practice, and they know their spots and they know their positioning. They know their ring awareness. And not only that, I'm sure you might agree with this too, Andy, they knew how to cooperate even when they weren't expecting it.
Yeah. Yeah, they could do it on the fly, couldn't they, as they say?
Yeah.
But the one thing I say is kudos to Paul Heyman on this one, because at the end of the day, Paul, he was so good at this, whether it was Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, whoever he brought in, he always had these type of matches somewhere on the card. And it, you know, it broke up the card really well and made the extreme stuff more interesting. And then also, it, you know, he was trying to cater for everyone, and I thought he done a really good job with this card for one. And I just think in general he used to do a good job, and he give these people that probably wouldn't have had a platform in the United States. They give them the platform to go out and do something. Like, you know, let's ask the question: Super Crazy and Tajiri, did they end up in WWE without the ECW runs?
Super Crazy, no. Tajiri, yes.
Okay.
I would believe. But the Super Crazy thing was kind of very racist. Very racist. But he was over, actually. I remember, you know, he would come out alone and people would like him because of what he's done in the past. It's not a shtick. One
thing I liked on this was the finish as well. I love the way when Super Crazy gets the win, it's Jerry straight up running at the referee. What? You know, it shows it, you know, it gives that kind of authentic feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then right afterwards, graciously, he bows to each side of the crowd.
Yeah.
So Paul knew, let's get these Japanese guys over. Okay. And not only that, let them do their stuff. So when they honor the crowd, you know, this is kind of like what they do in Japan. It's And I appreciate that. And I appreciated this match a lot. It was just nice because as soon as you turn on the pay-per-view after the Taz promo of breaking jaws, and no and a snooky-less water, we ended up getting treated with this. So this was a good one.
It set the standard lovely, didn't it?
Well, I said this is how a TV show was. And when they were on TNN, they would always have this match with Nunzio too. But the next thing we see is something where it's kind of like an interlude in between. And what an underrated mind Steve Corino was. So Corino comes out and he's barely new at this point.
Yeah.
And he says he doesn't need to tour overseas. He doesn't need to go hardcore. And I loved it. It was so funny. It was so funny. Who does that get answered by, Andy?
Balls Mahoney with Axel.
Yep. So Ian is Axel's brother, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, maybe and at some point we might get to see the tape fist barbed wire or glass match.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Well, I tell you what, well, this one, obviously, Steve just gets absolutely obliterated at this, and it is what it is. Good little segment, as you say. It's a good little after all that action in the other one. It's a good way to finish. One thing I've got on here, Balls Mahoney definitely would not have been in WWE without ECW. Not a chance in hell would he have.
Without a doubt, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? But good on him.
They even had a storyline.
Run. Yeah, I know.
They had a storyline with him and Kelly.
Yeah.
How the fuck did that happen?
I think the Balls Mahoney's of today are still sitting off in some kind of gym hall somewhere.
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, that's like a guy like him and Hack Myers, they were for the crowd. But I will say the one funny thing from this match was when Corino said, I'm going to use the chair. Sits the chair down, then sits in the chair to give Balls Mahoney a headlock.
Yeah,
that was the funniest thing. And you saw about 20% of the crowd standing up and applauding. I was like, this is great.
Do you know one thing I put down here, right? I'm going to mention it now because it's just so right, is Paul Heyman with ECW created something that Vince McMahon has always wanted but never been able to get. Can you tell me what that is?
Fan interaction without having people get hit.
No, I'll tell you exactly what it is, right? It's the fact of the matter is, in WWE, they chant, this is awesome, or they used to chant for Rock, Hogan, whatever else. During this whole pay-per-view, no matter whether it was the champion, no matter whether it was Douglas, Dreamer, anyone else, whenever something big happened or something went on, ECW, because that's what the fans cared about, the brand. They liked the wrestlers on there, but they were ECW fans. ECW was their bread and butter. Yep. Now, Vince McMahon always tried that because he realized with Hogan, when Hogan was so big, Hogan at one point, in essence, was the company. He was bigger, and then it was the same with Rock and Austin, and to an extent, Cena. And, Vince McMahon, you can see, doesn't want that one big star. He wants the company to be the star and these wrestlers to participate in it. And he's never been able to achieve that. But Paul, even back in this time here, throughout, Paul Heyman was able to achieve that with ECW.
To add to that, what you just said is, okay, you know how you get hired from a job and the first thing you hear about from people showing you the ropes is the culture there.
Yeah.
You talk about the culture inside meetings. WWE will talk about their culture. WCW talked about theirs. I'm sure TNA does the same thing with their culture inside. People outside of ECW talked about the ECW culture. That makes, you know what I mean? Like, that's that's them. That's like, you could sit there and say ECW, that's their own thing. Like, they have their special following. Then if they want to call them special breed, that's fine. But I've gone to ECW shows. Okay. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it is a special breed, and damn proud of it too. Those people are proud. That's why Taz in the beginning, that's the other thing that we forgot about. Forbidden Door, these guys actually talked about the other superstars like Ric Flair and Hogan and Rock and Austin, Like Taz called them out. He's like, you guys want to bring it? Go ahead.
Yeah.
But I'll guarantee you they were not talking about the next match though.
No, they wasn't. From start to finish, mate, I was just like, what the hell? And even if, Guido, what little Guido gets to win on here, don't like these masks. Mexicans never have done. Never, ever have done. I just didn't think they had a place in North American wrestling. But it was Anfaz Del Norte. Little Guido gets to win, as expected. And then...
It's spelled Antifas.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Antifaz.
Yeah. He was bad. I go, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
I'm convinced he wasn't even Latino. I'm seriously convinced that he had to build like a Russian butcher.
Mm-hmm. It's just, even when I look at that dummy, it was just like, what's this match all about? And then the Sicilian crab. Like, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? What on earth is this? Is the shit? And then like the little bit at the end. I don't even remember that. What's his name come out, didn't he?
Tracy Smothers.
Yeah, and he comes out and it's like just attacks Guido, and then they go for big. Why? What was it all about?
The crowd was dead too, and they didn't even care either. I think they just want to see Tracy Smothers.
Yeah. It was just start to anyway. Next.
Thank God. Because we're going to go into...
We get back up there then, don't we, with this one?
Yeah, and we go into probably... I'm going to put it out there right now, Andy. Probably one of the best matches you and I have watched.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go with Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn. The funny thing is that there was such like an amazing feel with this because Bill Alfonso... Fonzie's a different type of guy. But this guy just shouted and made, and I could see why people hated him. Me, I enjoyed him. I think a lot of other people didn't like him today, and I'll get into that. But I will say, Van Dam is very green with promos, no pun intended, and he didn't give a shit.
No. Van Dam in here. To be fair, I always say with Van Dam, he was, he got onto something with the Rob Van Dam chant and all that, but it was like he didn't need it because his wrestling just spoke volumes for him every time.
We've talked about it. You never teach this to a person because it can't be done. But if you can execute it without even trying, then it's probably the most beautiful type of wrestling you could ever see. Yeah. Clean. Yeah. I mean, the guy would do a back handspring just with fist, and it just looks... you have stuntmen to do that in movies. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And obviously the Jerry Lynn gets the win here at first, or so we thought. And then it was we won an extra 5 minutes, and Van Dam hits him with the Van Daminator on a chair. Job done.
Do we go to the news report, my friend?
Go on, let's do it.
All right, RVD versus Jerry Lynn. Styles explains how Lynn's been an outcast in every promotion. Online, people think this match will be an easy victory for RVD. By the way, if you saw where they supplied the website before, it was ECW on-line. We're still figuring that one out in 1999, folks. Lynn clearly studied his opponent. Van Dam sells and milks taking his time from his opponent in the coolest way ever. He's the kid in high school that everyone wants to be friends with. Famed photographer Bill Apter genuinely hates Bill Alfonso's whistle. The smallest of moves from Lynn is a powerful spot. And this is, I want to stress this next point out. The surfboard on the chair from Van Dam to Lynn, then to push him off to land on the chairs, was one of the most impressive spots I've ever seen. You agree with that, Andy?
I do 100% agree with it.
75% of the crowd looks like an incarnation of Phil Anselmo. To describe Van Dam's agility using words is an insult to how amazing it is. RVD does a split to avoid Lynn's leapfrog, only to have Lynn leg drop RVD's head, which was very clever. I had to look up from writing when I heard the bell ring, forgetting this was a time limit draw. Apparently, the ref could award the title to someone at the end of a draw here. Wish this was the case in other places. Fantastic end with the extra 5 minutes for the crowd. Out of all chants they kept, Fonzie is a dick on the air.
Brilliant, brilliant. One thing I noticed in this one, and excuse me.
Boy. Oh, God. Oh, fuck. We're going to lose him.
No, I'm still here. Was the way that in this whole pay-per-view as well is where the time limit made this thing. One thing I'd say about ECW, they made the fucking rules up as they went along, didn't they? Because like how many times, like there was a bit where, which we'll go into in a bit, but like people just go missing during the match in the crowds, and there's no 10 count or anything like that. It's just they just make it up as they go on.
Can't you just picture going, just go, I don't care.
Well, yeah, no, Van Dam was just so good. And to me, he's one of the greatest television champions of all time. And that doesn't just ECW, that's in general as the genre of a television champion. You know, he really, really took that belt and just flew with it. You know what I mean? It was awesome.
I've got a question, though. Isn't every belt on TV?
Mm-hmm. But they don't always have the time limit, or the time limits, do they?
Oh, okay. So TV means restricted time. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Because if you look at even Arn Anderson back in the day was known for going to time limit draws a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Right, for wrestling 30 minutes and going for it. So, you know, obviously this one wasn't 30 minutes. It was 22 minutes, 18 seconds altogether.
Yeah. But listen, it was, you wanted to see every bit of it.
Yeah. Well, next we go on to one of my favorite gangsters. New Jack comes out with Mustafa, and let me just get my notes here for a minute.
Oh boy.
New Jack doesn't work stiff. He just doesn't work at all and hits people. Number 2, I believe there is at least 3 to 4 narcotics, possibly more, within New Jack's system based on the diameter of his eyeballs. The crowd go wild for New Jack, but as always, it just shows you with the branding, ECW is just a shout every time New Jack kettles Mustafa with any kind. I think it was a keyboard at one point.
Yes,
but before he hits him with the keyboard, he actually starts typing on the said keyboard and then hits him with it. And I couldn't figure out whether he was either mimicking typing on a keyboard or because he was that high, he thought it may be an accordion. Do you know them ones where they've got the things on the side of it?
Yeah.
The piano thing on it, and I think that's what it was. Like, it looked like he was kind of going like this. So I didn't know whether that was part of the show or because he was just too high.
He's a big Casio fan. That's what it is.
Yeah. And obviously, New Jack gets the win in this one.
What was the move that finished it?
Was it just hit? What was it in the end, though?
Oh, you mean jumping off the balcony from like
yes
20 feet up.
I thought you were going to call it a knee, and then I was like, oh.
Did you ever
which is just New Jack for you, wasn't it?
Did you ever see a match end by having security guards guide them back to the ring so then they could get the pin? It was a nice touch, by the way, with the Little Tykes lawnmower being hit over New Jack's head too.
Do you know what, though? It shows you that, like, New Jack, I know he's always famously known for throwing thingy off the top of the scaffolding, but it just shows you he'd do it himself as well. He'd throw himself out the ring, wouldn't he?
He was insane. It was awesome.
But again, in this match, it shows that the fact is, again, count outs and whatnot just don't mean anything.
No, they don't care.
But nobody's explained it's a false count anywhere match in this one.
Or this is the dreaded lights out match.
Yeah.
Let's make up rules.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go against your win-loss record because we are brilliant and smarter than the rest of the wrestling fans out there.
Next up, well, after this match, the Dudleys come out and smash New Jack and Mustafa and start giving a bit of a promo. Didn't like Bubba Ray's promos here. I thought he was a bit weak. And
he would get better.
Maybe.
He would really. Can I? Okay. So later on in this year, I would think around like July or June, we would actually go. My brother and I and my dad would take us to go see them at Freeport Rec Center on Long Island.
Okay.
I have to find the card. They came out and Bubba told everybody which person sucked dick behind what corner. And all I remember is laughing. And my dad and my brother would ask my dad. My brother at the time was 6 or 7. And he'd go, Dad, what did he say? My dad would be like, I don't know. I didn't hear him.
Brilliant.
Now, the funniest part about that was my brother had to use the bathroom and then they got a t-shirt or something. When that happened, New Jack came out and beat the hell out of everybody and did the keyboard spot.
Yeah, brilliant.
He missed. I always say, remember that time you missed New Jack? He goes, shut up.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of Bubba Ray and his promos and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? And never was, never will. I think that Devon should have got the mic more than what he actually did sometimes, because Devon was actually quite good. But as I say, Joe Geffer and Spike Dudley come out. We have a match. Spike Dudley gets literally launched. Oh my God. From the ring into the crowd. And when I say into the crowd, and then they start crowd surfing him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then obviously the Dudley boys get on Gerfer and beat him up.
No, it's Nova. Yeah, Nova. Yeah.
Get the what's called.
But at that point, the crowd, even before Spike and Nova, they were chanting one person that is, I guess he's a veteran now to our podcast.
Yes.
He's probably on half of the stuff that we review. And it's not like we're chasing the man down, although I would love to interview him, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Big Sid Vicious, Justice, whatever he is. Then Bubba actually says how for a Southern boy, he's got a pretty mouth. And it just really got awkward. And then Sid just killed everybody. Because, I will say this. I love Sid's powerbomb.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just thought it was really good. I don't want to go on this match anymore. This was weird.
No, it was, yeah. Well, as I say, in the end, they beat up nobody, win over. Sid comes out with the judge with his, what do you call it over there, stretcher? Do you call it something else to use?
Yeah, you could call it stretcher, gurney.
Gurney, yeah, that's
what do you guys have over there? Was it the paddy wagon?
No, we just call it trolley.
Really?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers had a trolley. You guys actually call that like a trolley?
Yeah.
Okay.
A bed trolley. Right. Well, the gurney. He comes out, Sid powerbombs both the Dudleys. Spike comes from his crowd surfing. He's been gone about a good 10 minutes here. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe a bit longer. No count out again. No, comes back in. Dudley dog. Him and Sid get the win, and then Sid power bombs through a table. And when he power bombs him, he power bombs him. Did you see the whiplash on his neck as he goes?
Not good.
I was thinking, Jesus. Just a good question for you though. Who do you think's got the best power bomb in wrestling? Or had?
Had? I don't know.
So anybody, who do you think's ever had the best one? It's probably the best one.
I think Nash put people down lightest. Best power bomb. I like Sid's. I like Sid's. I really did. I like Sid's.
I'd probably say Sid. But at the same time,
who's got the best one today?
Ryback.
So next we have Tommy Dreamer.
So no, this is actually honest, nowadays I wouldn't even say anybody's got a good call.
Wardlow.
Wardlow's is all right.
But it better not be his gimmick. Let's just put it out there, guys.
Well, Brock Lesnar used to do a good powerbomb back in the day.
Oh God. Yeah, Spike took one from him. It looked bad.
Well, as we say, we got the thingy there. But again, even then, Sid got a major pop. But then even again, it was ECW.
Yeah.
It's like, I love that. Next match, this match, mate. Jesus fucking Christ.
You want to talk about overbooking 101? All you need to do.
Overbooking, and also, oh, go on, you carry on with this.
You talk about primetime players, and I don't know. Anytime you bring up the primetime players, you know there's going to be bullshit involved. And it's sad, too, because Lance Storm deserves better. Lance Storm is clearly the best wrestler there. There was a point where I don't know how he works so well with Just Incredible. Isn't it weird?
Yeah, Just Incredible was one of them, though, wasn't he? He was vanilla. He just fitted in most places. He was never not great, but you could always plug a hole.
He was so vanilla, he fit in with the clique.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He was just like he's a chameleon, isn't he? Just put him anywhere and he'll just melt into his own background.
Yeah, but he's still friends with X-Pac still. Like, it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that there's one point in the match where they bring it to an actual wrestling match where like Tommy Dreamer is like, oh, I get to wrestle. And it was the same like hot tag sort of deal to Shane. I'll go on Shane in a little bit, but I remember like all of a sudden Storm runs back in to headlock Dreamer to bring him back over to the corner. And I was like, this is wrestling. This is fun. Like, you know, it's cool to watch.
Yeah. And I thought it was really good. The spots in it. Shane Douglas, obviously, he's a good wrestler. Tommy Dreamer is underrated as a wrestler, in my opinion. I think he's known as Mr. Extreme, but he can actually have a little go, can't he? And then Just Incredible, man, Storm and good here. One of the things with this was, I thought when you say overbooking, I'd say this was the transvestite match of the card. It didn't know what it wanted or what it was.
No, right. And this was actually probably the most storyline written part of the card.
Yeah.
Because Shane's about to go somewhere else. And then he says, Tommy, you're going to be, no, he names Tommy the franchise, which is like, so this is over a title. Like, okay, I guess this makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the way they come running in with the ladder and use it as a few spots with the ladder, which was stupid in my opinion, didn't need it. Obviously, all the interference and stuff like that was just not really needed. Francine obviously had to get her part in it, which was mostly. Yeah. And then in the end, she got a headbutt in the cunt. by Cyrus the Virus.
By Cyrus the Virus. Do you think he transmitted anything? That's the only thing I thought of. But that was his introduction into the ECW at that point, which would later become, I guess he would be the head figure for the higher beings at TNN.
Yeah.
Do you remember that at all? How did that broadcast to you guys?
I don't remember it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's something, that's a huge, it was a real thing too. But, you know, Paul Lee wanted to reflect that here.
Yeah, but let's have a look at that.
Were you a fan of, who were you a fan of, Francine or Dawn?
Francine. Yeah.
Francine, I thought Dawn was just cuter and sexier. I mean, they're both a very good looking woman.
Yeah, I just thought, I mean, if you're talking about that way, I'd probably say Dawn. But if you're talking about the fact of overall talent, I'd say Francine.
Oh, yeah. Francine looks better now.
She does. She really does.
I was like she keeps herself fit. You know, Dawn looks good too. Like we can't. I always thought Dawn was obviously just like, I'm going to be the ditz, you know, and the sex appeal for primetime players. Good to see Jazz there too, right?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I like Jazz. I thought she was so underrated.
Yeah, she was a tough brute, man. Yeah. But like she could wrestle. You know, she just recently retired, but last year I think. So just a badass bitch, wasn't she?
No, she really was.
So,
and then,
they had to replace Nicole Bass.
Oh God, the ball fat ass Bass. Well, she's died as well now, isn't she? Sadly.
Yeah, I remember she used to call into Howard Stern, and she'd be like, "Why doesn't anybody love me?"
Oh, bless her.
Yeah,
sad. You mean, man?
Yeah, she was like 50-50, bro. It was so weird.
And then we move on to our final match of the evening. Taz versus Sabu for the FTW Championship and also ECW Heavyweight Championship.
Finally, the two
yeah.
minds collide here. We need to find the one champion for the fake belt and the real belt and just mesh them together.
Yeah. And also one thing I say, did you know, is a fun little thing. You'll know because it's you. But about the fact that these two were the first ever headliner of an ECW pay-per-view as well.
Yes. And why was that?
Because they're brilliant together.
Yeah. And let's also put it out there, because WCW copies every single thing that ECW did. And that is why they created a hardcore division. That is why they had hardcore women and they brought in Sandman as Hack. And let's also point out that the one other thing here is that this Sabu and Taz fight and feud had no words from Sabu coming out.
No.
Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like something we reviewed last week, Andy?
Yes, it really does. One thing I didn't like with this, and that's one thing that has always griped me with Sabu. I love Sabu, you know, he's a real legend, and that. And obviously, me and you interviewed him not too long ago for Wrestle Buddy, and it's all this just all the time. It's like in the end, after the third or fourth time, it's like, okay, just move on now, mate. You know what I mean? I would have liked to see him do a bit more, but no, he was good. He's in the ring. He was just awesome, wasn't he?
He was so fun to watch, and just, you know, I wanted to ask him, like, hey, do you still go to the gym? Because I really don't think that's the type of guy that you could see doing bench presses.
No. I mean, he never looked in great shape, did he? But he never looked in bad shape either.
No, he was just
there.
He
was just there, yeah.
He did. That was legit. Like, he looked in pain. Yeah. He looked like he was in pain that day. It just, he didn't care. I love the fact that he always stopped Fonzie from throwing in the towel.
Yeah, at the end.
Added drama to it.
Yeah, I liked the bit at the end as well where Taz is like, get up and shake my hands. You know, I thought that was really good, and one of the first time we'd seen that in wrestling, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, especially in ECW, because ECW, they don't give a fuck at all.
No.
But I will say I had to snap because my cats are attacking each other now for the sunlight. The one little hey, get them. They did a Sabu and Taz right there. I think
fucking Paul Heyman would probably put that on pay-per-view if you let him.
I should. Yeah, well, now he can afford it. But now we could do the whistle. I should have had the whistle right there. I missed an opportunity. But anyway, I remember I texted you yesterday and I said, I'm watching this and I'm watching a Tazplex. I never want to see Kenny Omega do a suplex again after watching that.
Yeah. Taz is just awesome, wasn't he? One thing with Taz is he was the perfect size for the suplex. He just, the way he done them was just second to none. Do you know what I mean? The efficiency and everything. And say one thing that I love, did you see when they put him through the table? Right? When the table was in the corner, the way he flipped him, the only impact on the table that was took by Sabu was his feet. The soles of his feet went through the table first. You know, and that's how them two kind of done that move, and it was perfect. It looked awesome, but it also very safe.
Yep. Yeah, because he knew how to do it. And that was a guy, Taz is somebody that you could put in the ring and you could trust. And what I don't get is how over the past year, people were coming up with, because I don't know why this culture mob is there, but do you remember how they were like, oh, Taz got his push stymied because he hurt Kurt Angle. And Kurt Angle came right out like 2 days later. He's like, why is this coming up? He is the safest worker I've ever been with.
Yeah.
Like, why it came up, I don't know. But it was just the most interesting thing. But watching that, and he threw Sabu over the top rope onto the table in the safest way to go to the outside. I mean, it's weird to say because visually you're like, how does that happen? But this was just fun. Like really everything here, like watching this, there's a few times where we always say, hey, this put a smile on our face. This brought back memories. This was smile. And you knew that the crowd was just there. Like there's a reason why they're legends. There's a reason. And there's a reason why Paul said, look, there's a reason why we're at an ECW reunion and not a WCW reunion.
That's it, isn't it? And that's the truth, that, because we haven't really seen nothing of. Yeah, I mean, they did do a rise and fall of WCW video when ECW one was the highest selling video of all time for WWE at that point.
Might still be.
Yeah, that says a lot about it, doesn't it? Right, overall then, what are we giving this pay-per-view? I'm going to go with 3 out of 5. I think there was really good points, but I do think there was some bad points as well.
I was going to go 4. However, I'm going to go 3.5, and I'll tell you why. That Nunzio match was just bad.
Yeah.
Or Little Guido. That Little Guido match was bad. I do think that it was just clustered with the Dudleys. Why didn't you give them a proper match? Because even them being the most hated tag team, it was just weird. Just, I understand they didn't have the biggest production value, but I'm going to actually bring it down 0.5. And it's because of Peacock and WWE not getting the rights to anything. And they don't have to pay for it, but pay a little bit for New Jack's music. Yeah. It's not going to cost you anything.
Actually, I'm going to give it another 0.5, right? And the reason I'm going to is, is it Jason? No, sign guy, not Joe Gertie, really turned around and says, "Come on, sit on my pelvis, and I'll show you what killed Elvis." That's worth a 0.5 all day, just on its own.
Joel is a treasure. He really is. It was just an amazing thing to watch here. And I will give you a hot take right now. And for anybody that collects anything, get your ECW DVDs now, because I have a feeling Peacock will get rid of ECW Contact.
I've got loads of them already.
I'm telling you, I have a feeling it's going to happen. So collect your ECW DVDs now. Yeah. Get whatever you could on tape, because you will really need to go back to tape trading. Yeah. When Disney gets a handle, when Disney gets a handle on the rest of WWE, this will happen. Okay, guys?
That's it. Well, guys, thanks for watching. As always, it's been a really interesting episodes. Next week, I think we're going to spin back to a WrestleMania. Obviously, we do know it's WrestleMania season, but we want to make sure on our channel we're giving you some different content and not just the same drab every single week. Not saying that WrestleMania is a drab, but we just want to make sure we mix it up so that is, it's not just what WrestleMania is this week. So, but next week we will go back to a WrestleMania. But from me and Dale, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, like the channel. Thank you to everyone who keeps watching us. I say we are seeing some good viewerships and stuff like that. So thank you for watching us, and until next time, take care.
Raise up, guys.